Alright, everybody. Welcome to another week of Game Wisdom Live. This is for the week of January 28th, 2018. It's been another busy week here with Game Wisdom and with the YouTube channel. But of course, join me as always, my co-host and video game producer, Robert Leach, who unfortunately you're seeing a little advertisement instead of his face right now.
Yeah, I'm completely I've sold out. Those are my advertisements.
Exactly. Next up, the Josh boxes are going to take his take his place up there.
Could wear like a gaming jersey and just have all those patches that the pros have.
Mm-hmm. And you'll sit behind a Doritos and Mountain Dew stands too.
Yeah, while I'm drinking Monster.
Oh yes. Hey Gary, hey Oscar, how you doing? But
Hey,
it has definitely been a very interesting week, and this week coming up is going to be even more interesting for me because I'm going to be doing. Rob, I don't think is your camera not working?
yeah, it's kind of that. It's since I use my laptop camera, everything just gets squirrely, and my laptop is updating, and it's just all kinds of mess.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll be able to see Rob next week.
For
We'll see.
sure.
We may have to pay a microtransaction for that. Who knows?
You just have to put a little still picture of me like they do on the news.
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to trust that that's me talking.
Great. But like I said, this past week I emailed another library system. I'm waiting to hear back from them regarding doing more presentations. So fingers are crossed because it's going to be a very big one around here. I did a few more entries in the ebook. It's finally starting to see the end of the light at the end of the tunnel. Exactly, Oscar. Or $1 for Rob Face DLC. And this week coming up, I'm going to be doing some part-time data entry work, help bring a little bit of money in. And I believe this Thursday, is going to be my birthday. So I'm getting older by the minute here, Rob.
That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome to talk about your birthdays all you want, just knowing that I'm much closer to death than you are. So
That's the best way to begin this week's live stream, right there. There's some happy-go-lucky discussions right there.
yeah,
Scatter.
yeah, but definitely happy birthday.
Thank you.
I hope your stuff, your library stuff, goes well this week. And what's going on with your radio show?
Well, it's up, but I haven't heard myself on yet. I'm going to have to email the studio head or the station head and see when I'm actually going up, just so I can tell people to actually listen for it.
Yeah.
But a lot of games we've been playing this week, a lot of very interesting topics as well. So I guess for you, that is nice. Death is RNG, Rob. You can outlive anyone. Wow, this is going to be a very happy cast, isn't it? And it's raining outside too, right outside my window, so that's perfect. It is a perfect week. This is going to be the morbid cast, I guess. So I guess for you, Rob, how has your week been?
It's been good. Just busy. Lots of busyness in and at work. So, that's good and bad.
Mm-hmm. I guess, have you had a chance to play any new games this week?
As usual, not really. I mean, I've been focusing a lot more since we started playing Grim Dawn. I jumped ahead and started playing a new build, and been getting pretty far, I guess. I'm nearing 40.
That's how it always happens. You start one character and then you want to build 8 more characters in that game.
Yeah.
Oh boy, lots of games. I know Celeste came out this week. Iconocast. Wow, that wasn't easy to say. I put in press requests for them, but I haven't heard anything back yet. And of course, people have been talking all about Monster Hunter World and Dragon Ball Z Fighter, or Dragon Ball Fighter Z. There we go. And they've both been doing really well. I guess I'm sure you haven't had a chance to play either one yet, like myself, right?
That's correct. I saw an ad for the Monster Hunter. That looked pretty cool. It showed all the different monsters kind of scale. It was interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. Yesterday for the Grab Bag stream, I played. I was asking about this on Discord. Have you had a chance to play The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing yet?
Yeah, I saw the
Ooh.
and it is of course on my wish list. So I've put all of them on the rest of them on my wish list. It does look like fun, so I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I completely missed it the first time it came out, but apparently it did well enough to do 3 games, and then there's a HD or final cut of the game that combines all 3 games into a single title. So it's very insane. It's like a 35 gig download, so I think it's bigger than Prey.
Yeah, and sadly, not the biggest game that I have on my system.
Mm-hmm. And what's very interesting about Van Helsing is that it plays very similar to Torchlight. You have your quote unquote pet with you at all times who takes in the form of a ghost. You have your skills are very streamlined. Basically, you put a skill on, then there's 3 modifiers that you apply points to. And the maps are all set from what I could see, so it doesn't have like that random or procedural value. But it seems like there's a lot of variance in terms of how you build your character or build your Van Helsing.
That's cool. I know that in comparing all the building features, I mean, Grim Dawn to me is just a reskin of Titan Quest,
Yeah.
but it has that extra layer of build to it, that constellation thing. And then Torchlight is a very straightforward, just select your skill and improve it
Yeah.
kind of thing. Some of the mods do change that around. That's the benefit of Torchlight is the mod community that really goes nuts.
Of course. And Getter just mentioned in chat, you think more mini-series kind of games will go the Van Helsing route and jam them all together? That is very interesting. Like, I haven't heard of any other games that have done that. Have you, Rob? Like, any ones that have taken, like, a bunch of episodes or stuff like that and just put them all together for a re-release?
I mean, there are several. I mean, it's more like packs, not that they all bleed into one another, but they're just like, here's the like, say, the Sam and Max series from Telltale. Just we're gonna sell them all to you in one batch now.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're actually in the same executable, but seems like they all do it that way.
Probably. If it's like the DVD pack that I got from them way back in the day, then no. It was just basically you install the DVD and then you finish one episode and then go back to the installer or the portal, run number 2, number 3, and stuff like that.
Because I know Titan Quest, they take the new one and they jam it right. Like you end Titan Quest and you go straight into the new one. So is that how Grim Dawn does it?
With Grim Dawn, or actually maybe think of Van Helsing. I haven't played enough of Van Helsing to say yet. One of these days I need to sit down and just try and play them all together, or play that final cut build. Let's see. I did play a Chroma Squad. Did you have a chance to look at that one, Rob?
Maybe. Is that new? Because I feel like I'm thinking of a different game then. Let me see.
It may be on your backlog like me. Who knows?
Could be.
It's the Super Sentai game based on like Power Rangers and tactical RPG.
Let me see here. No, I haven't. Oh, I've seen this. Is it on my wish list? It is. It's on my wish list. So yeah, it looks kind of clever.
The never-ending wish list, right? Just like my never-ending backlog.
Yep.
Oh, but here's a game we were talking. I know you've heard us mostly talk about on Discord. I finally played through that Helix game. Helix? And I finished that Friday. That was a kooky one. I think it could be basically described as like Bath Salts, the video game.
Oh, good.
And that was one, I think that probably is the reason why I had some very crazy nightmares Friday night after finishing that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're making the sequel, which will have more of like that claymation feel to it. So definitely interested to see what's going on with that.
Yeah, it would be. I really need to play it. So you do have a stream of it?
I'm gonna have a first look of it. Probably, I would say Monday or Tuesday this week coming up.
Cool.
I made a new player's guide to Subnautica. Have I played off? I don't know what that is. There's way too many acronyms of games these days. But I'm sure Elgora will enlighten us in a second there. Yeah, so Subnautica, definitely a very interesting game to see how much that's turned out. Have you had a chance to play that one?
Oh, no. I remember looking at it a while ago. Oh, actually, no. I guess not. Unless it was in early access, and
Oh
I'm
yeah,
thinking of another game.
I think it's been in early access for four. It was in early access for at least 4 years.
Got it. And yeah, I took a look at it a while ago. I don't even think I. Yeah, I clicked not interested. Apparently, when I first saw it, I'm like, no, not for me.
Indie free game. No, I have not heard of it. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Off, a French role-playing game released in 2008. Nope, I have definitely not played that one. Yeah, I heard you're having some trouble there regarding the technical issues. Man, it's always trouble, especially in those massive open world games where it can be a lot harder to find those little bugs or big bugs that can happen. Let's see. One bit of news that we were talking about. Oh yeah, Rob, I forget. Did you play Rainbow Six Siege or not?
No, no. Again, that's one of those games I probably would not play, just because of the type of game it is.
I'm going to have an industry insight up this week about it, but there is some news regarding they're going to be raising the price again on their main version of the game. They're going to be boosting it from $40 to $60 come, I think, mid-February.
Sheesh.
And that is
that
Yep.
that going to be the new loot box, jacking up the price of your game?
Oh, but they're also adding in loot boxes too, by the way. Just
Of
to,
course.
twist the knife a little bit once it goes in. Yeah. It's one of those very interesting cases. I'm going to talk about this on the Industry Insight, but I want to get your thoughts on this, Rob, with your background as producing games and working in the industry. But the argument that they're having is that they've added so much to the game, and I think they're up to year 3 of DLC, that they felt they could justify raising the price up. But I don't know if that argument holds water, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
I agree with you. I mean, the fact that it's just sell the DLC. I don't see the problem there. That's kind of the acceptable way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
So no reason to jack up the price. Just sell it separate for $10. I don't understand. I mean, if someone's new to the game, they're going to pay $60, right? So I don't get the problem here.
Yeah, but they have according to Steam, they have $321 of DLC available to the game right now. Lots and lots of sets.
Yeah. So I was looking at it, and I see the 3 of them. One of them's free, and I just saw showing 1 through 3 of 46. Okay. Yeah, they don't need to jack up the price for the game unless they're including all this DLC with it.
Probably not. They're just going
Probably not.
They may give you like a little bit more in terms of in-game currency, but they're saying that the starter edition is basically like the the light version of Rainbow Six Siege. So it's basically like you want to get the $40 or technically $60 in a few week version or bust.
Sheesh.
And that kind of thing, I think that just adds more trouble to the game because you're really just confusing people. I am betting that there are forum posts of people asking, what is the starter edition? Why should I get that? Why is this version $80?
Yeah. Like I see 4 different versions here. And that includes the bundle. That does not include the bundle. Sorry. So there's $15, $40, $70, and $90. And my favorite part of them raising the price is that you're going to go up to the top, say, okay, $40, this must be a good game. $60, you go up and you see that it was released in 2015. You'll be like, wait a minute, I'm paying $60 for a 3-year-old game? I don't know about that.
And that's the other really good point there. The price should be going down as the game is, continuing its lifespan. That's the way you're supposed to get new people in. Like Payday 2 went free, I think, for the initial version. Now you pay for the Ultimate or the Game of the Year version. But the idea is you're supposed to keep having more people join the game, and to do that, you have to lower that price.
Yeah. Yeah, and having more people join the game keeps the old people playing and buying the DLC. So I don't see the problem.
Yeah.
I really don't. I feel like I really want to see a full-on article as to why they're doing this, like the full explanation, because the way you just described it, it sounds pretty
Yeah.
uh, like a non-starter for me.
Yeah, and Thorn is talking about how in the starter edition, that's a $14 one, they changed the price on the operators, which those are like the characters you unlock to play with. So according to him, it costs 12,500 credits to buy one, and versus buying 10 operators for that price if you spend $40 for the regular edition. So it very much sounds like the starter edition is the, the fool's bet to get that version.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is not good. You don't want to be selling the I'm trying to think of the term I want to use. The I don't know, the bargain bin version of that game when you're trying to get people into that, because again, I am going to bet there are people who pay that version got pissed off because of how much it costs to get more stuff and then quit playing.
Yeah. This price game that people are playing is silly, because it's like, okay, so you pay the front price. Some of the games now have advertisements and then loot crates, and DLC on top of that. So you're getting hit 4 different times. Well, you're not getting hit 4 different times. You're getting hit 3 different times, and they're making money 4 different ways. It just seems. Now I know that the overall explanation is because games are way more expensive these days, and we had talked about that a little bit last time, but I don't know. You don't play games with the users. No pun intended.
And Gary's saying Rainbow Six Operation Shell game.
There you go. That's a good one.
Yeah, and that's not good. Like, if you're going to give someone Thorn something about a first taste in the chat, exactly. El Gore beat me to it. First taste sounds like a demo or free weekend. Exactly, like what they do with Call of Duty. I mean, like I say, my only experience playing Call of Duty is playing the free weekends of that. And I was talking about this on Twitter, that it's also one of the reasons why game sales are so great, because it lets you have a chance to, risk your money on a genre. Oh, man. Allows you to risk your money on a genre that you may not really enjoy, or you may not even know you like. Like I was saying, there is no way I'm spending $60 on Dragon Ball Fighter Z. I mean, I'm not a fighting game fan, so there's too much risk in that for me. But if they have a free weekend, or let's say they have a sale that drops down to 20 or 30, that may be more my alley. But imagine if they say in a year or 2 years from now, hey, we release all these characters, we're going to raise the price from $60 to $80, because there's more value there. I'm never going to get a chance to try that game out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this price hiking before, but never with multiple games, only with the one. Yeah. So did someone over at Ubisoft say, hey, you know what? I like the fact that they just raised their price. Let's do the same.
I don't know. Oh, I know Jim Sterling was making fun of Ubisoft's announcement. They're trying to make it seem like they're not as bad as Battlefront 2's monetization. What they're saying is that the loot boxes, there's only 50 items in the loot box event, so there is a fixed limit, but you still have to buy 50 items worth of loot boxes to get it all.
Now, is that like an at least? Is there a chance of getting a loot box had?
From what they're saying, no. There's not going to be duplicates, but you still have to buy the loot boxes.
Right.
I mean, it's one of those things that sounds like a step in the right direction, but it's more like a slap in the face than like a punch in the gut, I think.
Oh, for sure.
That's going to be a very interesting future, Getter, about someone trying to monetize a free demo. Oh, God. Someone's probably trying to think of that right now as we speak. Oh, there you go, Rob. You can pitch that to 2K.
Yeah. I mean, there was... way back in the day, there were like the cheap bins, the shareware stuff that you could pay like a minimal price for. That to me was okay, because you'd pay $3 and you get a pretty good sized game, or you get freeware, which you'd pay nothing, and then you could buy the game after you demo it. Those are always good, like paying hardly anything, and then being able to get a more expensive version, or paying nothing and then can get the full version. Those are two ways I feel are acceptable, but $15 isn't nothing.
And I think that Jeff Vogt does it really well with his games, all the Spyware software games, having that freeware approach where you can play like the first chapter of the game, and then if you want to play more, you have to buy the full version. But you're still getting essentially a full slice of this game before you get a chance to try it out.
Yeah, I really do like the demo thing, and I recommend these days to indie developers, go the demo route, make a demo, because there are too many indie games, and yours is just on the bottom of the pile if you're just coming out. So just to get it out there a little bit, to make it attractive for people to play, put a demo out, because there's no other way. There's no other way.
Yeah. And you can't really, gamble that a big name YouTuber will basically make a sizzle reel for you by spotlighting your game.
Oh, for sure. The big time YouTubers have no interest. And that's not to say they have zero interest, but the fact is they probably have to know you or know someone who knows you. It's not likely that they're going to be looking around the bins like some kind of DJ trying to find that lost piece of music that works into their act. Yeah, that's just not how it works. There's too much time sink into playing a game and figuring out if you like it.
Yep. Exactly, and we talked about with Prey. I mean, if it wasn't for the demo of Prey, I wouldn't know the game would have even ran on my computer, and then to be able to play through that.
Yeah.
Big U2 is the new Sears contract.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting, and here's something that I was thinking about. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this. With all the trouble that's happening with YouTube, do you think it's time to go back to Twitch? I don't know. I was thinking about this. I was going to ask you about this later, Rob, but I guess how is Twitch doing these days?
I mean, it's fine. I enjoy it. Still, I watch stuff on Twitch. I'll do my YouTube thing where you just kind of watch a video and then let the rest play. That's just kind of in the background. But Twitch is where I go for my focus content, like Dota and League of Legends and that kind of stuff. That's where I go. Although Facebook's making a play now. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I was seeing that. And it's definitely tricky because I know we built up a very big audience here thanks to YouTube and people watching us on YouTube as well as watching the streams. But it's hard to tell whether, am I a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond if we go back to Twitch. Because again, obviously there's a lot more game streamers on Twitch than there are probably on YouTube.
Yeah, but you have this a niche, and I don't think you're ever gonna. I don't think you're gonna run into that problem unless you really did have a big problem with Twitch. I don't think you're gonna run into many of those issues just because you do really good. You dig deep into games and you do thorough investigations, and you have this knowledge that most people don't do. They just play games. For me, I just play games and. I feel like one of the biggest problems for streamers is that I'm the amateur streamer. I just go out and I play a game and I have fun with it. And meanwhile, there's people who are trying to make money off of it. And really, I have access to the same technology everyone else does. So, I have a fancy microphone. It was less than $100, but it's a very nice microphone. So, that right there, I mean, that's not something I don't have to have a radio studio. I can just have my desk in a closet here.
I was just thinking if it would be easier in terms of getting people to contribute and stuff like that, but I know that stuff is not something you can force. It has to be organic in terms of people wanting to support you on either platform.
And there's no reason you can't do both. There's a lot of software that allows you to take your chat and combine the two. Now there's some awkwardness there for sure, but you can show it on your screen just like you normally do. But you can stream on both. I've seen plenty of guys do that.
You mean stream it both at the same time or alternate?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. There's a guy called Game Face Gamer. He does Planet Coaster streams. I haven't watched him in quite a while, but he primarily streams on YouTube, and I'm like the guy watching on Twitch that he can also interact with.
I'll have to ask around about that. See, if there's an easy way of doing that. I'm just wondering how much of a bandwidth issue that's going to cause. I bet you need to have a pretty high upload speed in order to do both at the same time.
I don't know about that. What I would imagine is you'd find software that you do one stream and then it splits it at some point. I don't know though. I really couldn't say.
All right. Maybe I'll think about it because I do like streaming here on YouTube. I like how everything is basically connected here. So the people who like it on YouTube, they can immediately subscribe to the channel. They can see about the grab bag streams and all that other good stuff. It just seems like the more you spread out, the harder it is to keep everything, connected like that.
One of the big keys is to make sure you have all your games up to date when you stream and all the messaging up to date. Because the fact is you stream so many games that you're going to hit on one that is popular enough that people are looking for, but there isn't any content for otherwise. And that's a way you can grab users pretty easily, I think. Not. I don't think there are a lot of people who play a different game every day and then maybe focus on one or two. Yeah, discoverability is
I know,
rough,
that's
like Getter says.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of afraid of, because I only stream like maybe 2 to 3 hours a night, at most, and there are people who stream 6 to 8 hours, and yeah, there is no way I could do that. I think that would probably be the end of me right there if we were to try to add that in there.
Oh, I mean, to add it for sure, but it's not so bad. Like I used to stream over 4 hours was it every day? Certainly on the weekends. I used to have a lot of hours of streaming every week because it's not so hard. You just sit there and you talk for 4 hours. You, however, you have various. You stream throughout the day. You probably do. You might do over 4 hours or 6 hours, all compiled.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
And I'm just saying about the other stuff that I'm doing with the writings and the other projects I have. Definitely can't do when I'm working this week, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I guess I'll put it on the back burner and see what's going on there. I went from not having any podcasts. I've done like 4 or 5 in the last 2 weeks. So now I'm like all set for February. I need to try and figure out. I would love to be able to put more podcasts up each week, but I don't think I can sustain that. Doing a podcast Monday and a podcast Friday. So I don't know. I think it's better to have consistency. What do you think, Rob?
Consistency is the best.
Yeah.
Because that way people can depend on you for a specific release every week or whatever. I know that one of my favorite podcasts of like all time, it's certainly defunct these days. His problem was that he had like a podcast every month for like 4 months, and then 6 months later, and then 2 years later.
Yeah.
It was very weird, but I did love that one. I forget what is it called? A Life Well Wasted.
Yeah, I think as everyone's saying in chat as well, I think it's just too much of a strain. Because again, if I had like 2 or 3 other people doing stuff, that wouldn't be too bad. But yeah, if I started saying, hey, I can put out 3 podcasts a week and we'll do 4-hour streams, I think I can do that at the start, but I will just, at some point the energy's just going to die on me. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you do have a lot of different channels that most people don't use. Like, you spread yourself thin on podcasts and lectures and video streams and Let's Plays and deep dives and writing on top of that. So you're like a multimedia anomaly that most of these streamers just don't do.
Yeah, and we had that talk on the infamous like Bloodborne philosophical chat. We had one that we were just talking about the meaning of life while I was trying to play Bloodborne and how people got burned out just by either doing too much or trying to make themselves seem fake, and the amount of mental strain it puts on you trying to do all that stuff.
Yeah, that part I don't get. I mean, there's too many streamers out there who like get famous because they're a character, and then you're stuck doing this character forever.
Oh God,
it feels weird.
Someone I can feel it right now is going to probably suggest I should just dye my hair or put like a wig on, and we could do that as a character. But no, I'm not doing that for the rest of my streaming life.
No, there's no need to. I feel like if you're doing this, you just got to do it the way you want to, and most of those early people got lucky, and
Hmm.
it's a weird business because everyone has access to the same stuff.
Hmm.
It is a matter of getting noticed by the right group of people. It's always, and now it's just harder and harder and harder.
Yeah, I've been posting more on Medium. I got accepted into like one like the video game, I guess, writing sites on there. So they're going to cross post some of my pieces now that I write about design. So I'm sure that will help.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
You can put a box in
Josh
your
box.
head and impersonate the Josh box. I know, maybe I can put a box on put a box on that face, and we'll just do like some Inception. Or
And
maybe I can dress
anytime,
up as the guy from Helix. That would be good.
then
That would freak some
anytime
kids.
someone donates $1, you take the box off,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
you
there's
might be
another
wearing a mask underneath. Who
or
knows?
another box.
Another box.
That would be very hard to play video games though.
Yeah.
There we go. I think we got it. Just like one of those Russian nesting dolls of a box on my head. Every time someone donates $1, we take a little portion of it off. What could be underneath there? Could it be
Yeah.
my? Unfortunately, I would have revealed my face, but that would have been perfect right at the start. Who is this mysterious Josh? Pay money and find out.
Yeah.
We always find these great ideas like way past the point we could actually use them.
Yeah.
There's a competitor for the dinosaur mask. I used to have like an old monster mask around me. I could put that on if I could ever find it around. Although I don't even know if it'll fit my head anymore. But
Well, I do feel like you should investigate some of the add-ons that the streaming allows for.
mm-hmm,
I mean, there's chat, and then there's other things that make it a little interesting. I mean, it's a lot of work, but
mm,
uh, it's a lot of work. I'll just say
yeah,
that.
mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, next Saturday I may be doing a recorded cast with a developer from New Zealand. Apparently, it's like a day ahead there, so I'll be talking to them on the 3rd. They'll be there on the 4th. They're doing a Kickstarter for a tower defense game, and hopefully I'll going to try and get that up a little bit earlier in February just to help them out. But yeah, it's very interesting. Again, just so many things to do. But we better get back on topic here because how much time are we up to? We're about 30 minutes in there. Time travel casts, yeah. I need it. We need time travel. That could be very useful for me right about now. Let's see. Anything else game wise? Play some Naga, Helix, Van Helsing. Let's see what's going on Gama Sutra. I know I brought up a post to Rob we'll talk about in a few minutes. Oh, here's the news. Did you hear about Epic is closing down? Add some filters for stack. uh, Epic is closing down Paragon. They're a MOBA game.
Yeah, I noticed that a little bit earlier today. It doesn't mean much to me, but I do know that MOBAs are. I mean, that's a weird business to get into these days.
Yeah. It
Tough.
seems like they are. Oh, yeah, exactly. Thor. I'm waiting for Battletech 2. That's the game from Harebrained Schemes. But getting back on topic, yeah, Paragon. I know Ramin made a post about it on Gamma Sutra as well. Like at this point, I think MOBAs are pretty much locked down. You have, of course, the big three: Dota, LoL, and Heroes of the Storm.
I mean, to call it the big three, it's like the big two and then asterisk.
Oh, I hope no fans of Heroes of the Storm heard you, Rob.
Yeah, well,
We'll
they
see.
know. They
Yeah.
know secretly.
Yeah, Thorne saying Fortnite Battle Royale killing Fortnite regular. Yeah, that's true. It's going to be very crazy. And I was talking about this on Discord that what's happening with Lawbreakers? That's the Cliffy B competitive first person shooter.
That I do not know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, I had no idea what Paragon was, and that's probably not a good sign as well. Came out in early 2017. Yeah, I completely. That is a complete blind spot, even more than Van Helsing. Yep, exactly, Thorn. No, you forgot one. It was first Grand Theft Auto style sandbox games, then World War II first person shooters, then WoW, then Candy Crush, then MOBAs. And now it's Battle Royale, so we're good. Yeah. Oh, good, exactly, Alberto. Sea of Thieves. We could have pirates, and then maybe we can do some more Western based games. we were talking about this on the live stream. Oh man, we were talking about this on the live stream yesterday with Ben Wander, that he really wanted to make a game set in 1920s, 1930s Prohibition, gangster era. And it would be nice to see more games try different genres and themes.
Yeah, you had mentioned pirates. I feel that that is an interesting one because it pops up every few years. Like there were Sid Meier's Pirates, and then a little later, like Monkey Island. I guess those were around the same time. And then Sid Meier's Pirates was redone, and there's a couple of scattered Pirates games in the middle there.
Yeah.
Now, as far as zombie games, I can't tell if we're out of the woods there, or because that was just everywhere. You couldn't turn your head without smacking right into a zombie
Daisy,
game.
Warzy. I'm sure there's 27 other different clones of that. Nah.
Left 4 Dead.
Oh yeah. 7 Days to Live. Just any game with the word live or dead in the title probably has to do something with zombies.
Plants vs. Zombies.
Mm-hmm. Yet people accept something exactly. I mean, that's how I learned how to type. Typing of the Dead. I still say they should have done, like, tax software of the Dead, or file your taxes of the Dead.
That's pretty
You could have
funny.
the whole typing, the whole educational Dead franchise right there.
What was it they had? Was it Pride and Prejudice and Zombie?
Oh, yeah.
Wrote?
I tried watching them, my brain just was refusing to accept that. But yet, I think we may be out of the zombie field for right now, but now it's going to be Battle Royale. Oh, yeah. I'm sure there's going to be a Battle Royale zombie. Wait, isn't Fortnite technically, well, before they added in the Battle Royale, it was dealing with zombies. Maybe they'll add more zombies into Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Even I came with like a little idea for like an endless runner with zombies too. Everybody had to come up with a zombie game in the early teens there.
Yeah.
Oh man. I was looking. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just reading someone mentioned on the post about Paragon that was never sold on Steam. I think that's probably another big point as well. Although Fortnite is not on Steam, right? Or is it?
I can find out very quickly. I think both of us can.
Mm-hmm.
Fort. Nope. Unless, let's hit the N. And there's Amnesia Fortnite, but that is not the same.
Oh. Amnesia Battle Royale. There we go. That's going to be the next game. We just came up with it.
Well, this is a movie. It looks like. Is this? Yeah, this is a movie by Double Fine.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I will try Fortnite. It should be at least a lot less strenuous on your computer compared to PUBG. At least I hope it is.
I need to get a new one. Oh my god, I gotta mention this. The other day, if no one's seen this, you gotta check it out. There's a computer out there. I think it's iBuy Gaming or something like that. They have the most useless thing that I've ever seen, but it's super cool, and that is the side panel of their gaming machine is a trans LCD monitor.
What? I'm sorry, you kind of cut out there.
The side panel of their computer is a translucent LCD monitor.
So what does it do?
It just shows animations on your computer, rig. That's all it does. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like you think of I really like all that stuff. Like the keyboards that light up and all that crazy stuff. I want that, but like this takes it to a whole other level. It does. Like you have your glowing liquid cooled whatever, and it's all just generating all kinds of light. And then on top of that, you have this liquid crystal display like showing animated clouds and smoke.
Oh jeez.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think even when I do decide to buy a new computer, I think that may be a little too much there for extra stuff.
Oh yeah. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. I went through the computer thing and I just checked off all the most expensive stuff, and I took a $2,000 computer and made it $11,000. So that's something that I'm going to try to avoid. Like just doing that put me off of buying a new computer. It's a good exercise.
Mm-hmm. Crazy. Let's see. Anything else happening on Gamma Sutra? They're still trying to argue the loot boxes, but we already had a whole cast on that, so we don't want to jump back into that just yet. Let's see. Blizzard is monitoring YouTube videos to curb toxic behavior. That's kind of interesting. Let's see. We already talked about Rainbow Six. Developing Rogue Legacy. Oh, here's something I wanted to bring up. I mentioned this. I know, Getter. I mentioned this on the Discord channel, but here's a point I want to ask you about. Did you hear anything about Celeste, Rob?
No, I have not. And by the way, I'm putting the link of that computer in the Discord. I can't put it up on the YouTube, so.
So, Celeste, what they do is, it is supposed to be a challenging platformer, but what they put in was basically an assist mode that allows you to tweak the difficulty in just about every different way possible. Do you want to have infinite lives? Do you want to slow the game down? Do you want to be invincible? Do you want to skip levels? Do you want to just do whatever you want to basically make the game as easy for you as possible? And it's a very interesting point there, because a lot of people are comparing it to Cuphead, which really didn't have that kind of accessibility. But I don't know, it's one of those things that it feels like if the developer wants to do it, more power to them, but you shouldn't ding a developer for not having it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't think that you ding that. It's definitely a feature. Because there are times when I really want to get through a game and I just really want to see what the game's about. I know in Torchlight I got a mod that was like a god mod, so I could go through and just check out various builds. Because it takes a really long time to check out a build. So I'd like to just do that. So doing a god mode and allowing you to switch back and forth just to kind of see how things go, I think that's great. But yeah, that's silly to ding a game for not doing that. That seems ridiculous to me.
Yeah, and yeah, like, it has to be, I think, again, part of the idea from the get-go. Like, if someone wants to do it, again, you have to integrate it in early and often, but you can't take a game that's already out and then complain it's too hard. Why don't you have a level skip? Like, it would just break the flow of the game at that point.
Right. Yeah, it is one of those things that you have to think about. I do know that they're probably just trying to get out in front of people, trying to break the game and cheat and find all this stuff on their own, which is whatever. Like, it is a strange feature to have. It's very strange.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Steam page now.
Oh boy. Oh, I just remember one thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of the chat. Apparently my Wii U tablet is dying, so I need to figure out a way to either replace it or send it to Nintendo for their repair version, which is like $130 or something like that.
Sheesh.
And I just want it to be easier just to buy a Switch at this point.
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, if you're gonna, you might as well.
Yeah. It's surprising, that's the first time I think a piece of Nintendo hardware is actually broken on me, too. Yeah, modern Nintendo hardware reliability. And again, I'm just wondering what's their refurb set, or their repair things going to be for the Lagos. I can just imagine them saying, I ripped my cardboard box in half, can you send me a new one? Or how do I repair this? Well, do you have any duct tape?
That is the problem I see with that, is that it seems like if it's just cardboard, that's flimsy. It'll break.
Oh, yeah. And again, I know if I ever bought that, or maybe we can do like an unboxing. There we go. That's perfect. An unboxing of the Nintendo Lego. I can just imagine myself just like breaking it on camera within like seconds.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure there's going to be a dozen, if not hundreds of YouTube videos that showcase just that.
El Gordo is right. You can get the Labo. I mean, technically cardboard is everywhere. I can just thought of something funny. It's going to be the Pokemon Go of 2018, where people are just like going to random people's like backyards and neighborhoods for find Pokemon. Now people are going to be going into like dumps and stuff to find cardboard. Cardboard box factories are going to become very popular in 2018.
Yeah, it does make me wonder, like, if it's that hackable. I feel like it can't be. right? It
Mm-hmm.
can't be that hackable if it's a Nintendo product. So there's something about it that,
There's a
because
chip in
yeah,
the
it's just
box.
there's something because it's exactly what you guys say. Like if it's just the cardboard and the pulley systems, like that's done. Like they're not going to make any money.
Eh. And Getter, I think, just got ahead of the trend there. Nintendo Copo, all the copper wire. You can make games out of copper wiring. Exactly. We're coming with so many great ideas for video
Yeah.
games and streams these days, aren't we, Rob?
Oh yeah, that's we should be millionaires by now. Both us and all the guys on chat, just
You
millionaires.
you better not steal these ideas and take them to Take Two. We better not. Next week we won't be seeing this on the Take Two stream.
I have a funny feeling that's not going to happen. I could send up all the ideas I want. Chances are, I mean, I don't work. I work for a subsidiary of a subsidiary, so it's not all that. I don't have that much access. I mean, I have everybody's email, but I don't have that much access.
Just send a CC everybody on there,
Oh God,
Josh
yeah,
Box.
that'll
That
work.
will go well. There's my career advice for you, Rob. Take that and
Hey,
do what you will with it.
all tens of thousands of people listen to what I have to say.
Exactly. Seek out copper wire. There we go. Just put that in the email.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be very curious to see what's going to go on with that Labo and I'm sorry, on 420. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of excitement there. I was just thinking that episode of The Simpsons where they built like a cardboard box fortress. Someone could actually do it with the Labo now.
Oh my gosh, what if they came out with like the mega cardboard fortress, and you actually play from inside the fortress?
Oh god, you need like 7 switches at various parts of the fortress where it all set up. It's the ultimate cooperative-based video game right there. Just 7 people running around in a giant cardboard fortress.
Yeah,
Again,
ultimate laser tag.
again, I think we're coming with these great ideas, Rob. We just need to figure out a way to capitalize on them.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I'm too lazy to do any of this.
And
I
I
like
don't
the
have the
interest.
manual dexterity to build a cardboard box fortress.
Well, we'll see. We'll find out, right? When Nintendo comes out with it, we'll see if you can. That'll be an entire like series of podcasts. Me putting together the cardboard fort for Nintendo.
Perfect. Okay, how are we doing time-wise? Yeah, we're almost at the hour, so I think we'll move on to our final topic. And we'll try to keep things short, because I'm sure we all have things to do. I know one thing, we were trying to talk about a time for doing our Grim Dawn play. I guess, Rob, what would be like the latest on Sunday that would work for you? Or maybe we could do it like maybe Saturday afternoon or something like that.
Well, Saturday afternoon, possibly. Like I'm just if I could, it's just a matter of me trying to fit in my own game stream.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to do it Saturday, I could do mine on Sunday. Then I mean I'm generally available on Saturdays from 2 p.m. Pacific, so 5 p.m. to your 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Saturdays are a little bit more open, but I know that time, my afternoon time for you is the garbage time. You know, that's the dinner time and stuff. So
Yeah, it's not gonna be tricky. I'm just thinking that it's just hard. Like with Sunday, we're doing this and then doing another one. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I know we were trying to do something today around 5, but I don't think that's going to happen at the rate we're going. I know
Right.
you have to get going probably around like 7, 8 o'clock my time, right?
yeah, usually yeah.
Alright. Maybe we'll try and make it for Saturday. Maybe like an hour on Saturday, and then I do the grab bag stream that night.
Sure. One of the things I've found about Grim Dawn, my favorite thing in the world that I had with Titan Quest as well, is that it's like the old school. You have to find the save point, which is you have to find that new portal,
Mm-hmm.
and or else you can't really end the game. You can't end the game when you're in the middle of some challenge because your portals disappear between plays.
Mm-hmm.
I do not like that. And there's a particular area I'm in right now where I have to find and fight a boss. And it just means I have to crawl through all these respawned enemies just to get to the place I want to go. Bonus goes to Torchlight in that area.
What act are you on right now, Grim Dawn?
Well, if there are acts, then I guess I'm in one. Because let's see, I'm in. Oh God, I found the new town.
We basically, I think, get around. We just figure out it's based on how many bosses you fight. So every boss is a chapter.
Ah, well then I don't know about bosses. Like, so I defeated the. Um. Oh gosh, what is he called?
The
He was
war.
the guy, the warden.
Yep. So you're definitely on at least Act 2 then, or Chapter 2.
And then I've gotten to. So I don't know what the next boss would be
Uh,
after that because I fought a lot of them.
a
Fought a lot of like big time major guys.
it's a guy in like a giant mine where he has like crystals all around him.
Maybe.
See, I
Um,
know it's hard to tell there. But yeah, at some point we have to get back to it. We just need to find time to do it. But the weekends are certainly filled up now.
yeah. No, for sure. My weekends are nuts because I don't have any time during the week for anything. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens there. But let's move on to our final topic, and then we'll wrap things up. I was supposed to find other Josh, but I don't see him on. So maybe I'll chat with him later, too. So much talking. But this was a topic that I wanted to bring up. Jake Burkett of Gray Alien Games made a blog post called "You Are Spending Too Long Making Your Game." And he was talking about the challenges of what it means to work on a game for multiple years and having that turn a profit. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this, Rob, especially with the work you've done both in the indie scene and in the AAA scene.
yeah. No, I'm just nodding my head right now. So, this is a kind of a painful topic.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to let you start there.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So, I've just been kind of skimming the article in the time I've had. And the first thing they have, you just posted that. The 1st thing they have is this breakdown of how many years you've spent making a game. Less than a year, to me, that's a pretty tiny game, and you have to have nothing else going on in your life.
Yeah.
Those game jams, which I am not a fan of, because that's what bloated Steam. It's these games that people took less than a year on, got it out, and they're just crud. They look terrible. They might play okay, but you can't tell. And then you get to the 1+ year. I feel like the next two, the 1+, 2+, that's where you get the more quality games, and the 3+ are just. It's tough because the two of the 3 games we launched were for Indie Voyage were 3+ year games.
Yeah.
The first one had great timing and got out before the giant bubble burst of the indie scene that everyone was talking about and waiting for. And I think a lot of us, maybe even me included, I don't remember, weren't expecting it, but I feel like I was at the same time. There's too many games. But the next one was well after the bubble burst and just did miserably. And you could even go check out Venture Forth on Steam. You can see how many reviews it has. It was a miserable failure sales wise, and there are a lot of reasons, but in terms of time, yeah, you miss Windows when you take so long, and that's a pain. And technologies move on without you, and tastes move on without you. All kinds of stuff you miss because, yeah, all kinds of stuff like you might have this great idea and it's going to hit and it's going to be everyone's going to love it, but then you go 2 years down the line and zombies are no longer cool. Exactly, just like we were talking about earlier. Things go in and you had mentioned a tower defense game earlier, and I'm like, because I looked up the Van Helsing and saw they had a tower defense game, and I just thought to myself, when's the last time I saw a tower defense game?
Yeah.
I feel like they're on the outs. So it's all about timing with that stuff, and to be going so long on your game, well, you've unless you're doing a very specific look, like generally retro games are going to have a lot of they're going to be around a lot. Yeah, there's a bit of timelessness there because it just plays on a lot of people's memories and stuff. And so that's why retro games are still going on today. That Celeste game seemed to have a retro look. That didn't look like the kind of game I'd be interested in playing, but whatever. But yeah, it's a painful thing because and then the other game, Zavix Tower, was a less than 2 years game, maybe even a 1 year or less game. And that, it has its own look to it that I'm not necessarily a fan of, but the gameplay I liked.
Mm-hmm.
If you're into that kind of game, it's a good game. Um, but yeah, he brings up like how much money you'd pay
Oh
yourself and you
yeah.
could earn, and that's always a good thing to do. If you're looking to make money off of a game and it's not a hobby, well, then you have to take that stuff into account.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
uh, and you have to do research as to the best way. And one of my biggest problems was I would constantly tell people, as an indie developer, you have to get out there. A publisher can't do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody trusts a publisher in the indie game space,
Oh
and
yes.
that's a truth. So I should have renamed what I did to like production consulting,
Mm-hmm.
because that's more accurate to what my job was. Because as a marketer, you have to go out and you basically have to make friends and play other people's games and find people interested in your genre. But like all of this stuff, all of the how long it takes, it's such a pain. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're a talented programmer, you can get a job and earn a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
So to dedicate all of your time on a game when you could be spending those years working and making a good amount of money, well, you really have to weigh that. You have to weigh how successful you think you can be realistically,
Mm-hmm.
especially nowadays. Like you can't imagine that your game's going to make $1 million. You just can't. You can't make that assumption. You can't even make the assumption that your game's going to make $10,000, or even five, or even one, just because there's so much competition out there.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have your own visibility, you're not going to do much.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like that's part of the time you need to put in and figure. But like, if you've spent that much time, chances are you've been doing a lot of feature adding, feature creep, and
Mm-hmm.
reworking design, and that's never a good thing for a game.
Yeah. And a lot, I think, there is definitely worthy of unpacking. And Getter says, well, there's so much that goes into these games that it becomes, as the years go up and up, it becomes a lot harder to turn the profit. And you had a really good point there, Rob, regarding how times change, how what's popular, the trends change, and we were talking about this last night. Getter and I, we were talking about Star Wars Rogue from Arkin, and how that game could really use a quality of life and UI pass, especially when you compare it to other examples of that kind of genre, that kind of design. And that's a big point. You may think your game is great, but there's a chance someone could be working on an even better version of your game that you may not even know about.
Yeah.
And I spoke with Charles. I keep forgetting his last name. I can't look up without pulling up my Skype list. I won't be able to see all my contacts. But from Jara Technologies or Jara Games, who did the game Heat Signature. I think it was Heat Signature, or I'm forgetting maybe another name there. But his game, he started that game when there were no space games on Steam. But it took him 2 to 3 years to make that game, and guess what happened? All the space games came out in that time. And you just have to be really careful. And as Algordo said right there, Owlboy took way too long. I would agree with that. I mean, unless you are making like the Dwarf Fortress of Star Citizen games, it should not take you 10 years to make one single game. Even if you're
Right.
working on that part time, that is still a ridiculous amount of time.
Well, and that's a great thing to talk about is Dwarf Fortress, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is something I bring up a lot. But Dwarf Fortress, yes, it's taken 10 years, but they launched it in year one, and they've just been adding to it
Yeah.
ever since. That's just what people expect these days, and they do it for free. But the fact is, they didn't wait 10 years to launch their game. They put
Mm-hmm.
one out, and they react to fans, and they make actual adjustments based on their thoughts and fan thoughts, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a pretty good model right there.
Yeah. And
Certainly, you can't plan for that.
yeah, and I think one very important caveat to mention with Dwarf Fortress is that they didn't intend to sell that game in the original. They, as you said, Rob, they had the fans say, "We want to support you," but this is basically their passion project. They're not basically turning Dwarf Fortress into a business. This is what they want to do on their free time. But as we said, there's a huge difference between being a hobbyist game designer and working and trying to make a living off of your games.
Well, this is just it. They actually don't do anything else. They try really
Yeah.
hard to use their donations to make a living,
Yeah.
and it's a humble living. They're quite honest about that.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big point because a lot of people see Dwarf Fortress and they go, "Oh, they're living the dream. I just want to do that for my living." But no, that's not being a commercial game developer. It's very different from what like Jay Burkett does, or Zach Barth, or Chris Park, and so on.
Yeah, and I'm trying to keep catch up with you, Getter, because you do have a lot of points. Like I was just reminded of the whole you can't speed up having a baby by adding more women for certain.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just the same in terms of planning it out. If you don't plan it out right, then things are gonna be a little crazy afterwards.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, yeah, go ahead. I'm just catching up.
But yeah, like a lot of people, especially first-time indie developers, will say, "My first game, I'm going to spend 4 to 5 years working on that." That's not exactly a good goal to have. Your first game should be something you can do very quickly, because
Yeah.
your first game is never going. I think that's another big point. I think a major fallacy for a lot of people, and I know we've talked about this many times over, but people will look at something like Five Nights at Freddy's or Stardew Valley or Undertale and think this was the first game from these developers and they hit it out of the park and they're rich and famous. No, this is the first game that you know about, but
Yeah.
I'm sure they have worked on many smaller games that no one has ever even heard of, or which is like a very minor release. In the post from Jake, he mentioned that his best-selling game was Spooky Bonus on Casual Portals. But I am very sure that most of us sitting here probably didn't play that game.
Never heard of it.
Me
Not
neither.
surprising for me though. That last point's pretty cool. I mean, again, catching up with Getter, the hungering for stipend arts grant pension, that is a great point, and one that extends to a lot of other things. Like, yeah, you're hoping for this magical thing that you just kind of vaguely know about, and that seems to be game success. A lot of people know how to make games. A lot of people, but then there are a lot of people who don't realize how hard it is. But a lot of people know how, and they've got good programming skills, and they meet artists in school, and they might even have some idea of production and even sales if they're at a good school. But like, the real world is different than a school setting. It really is.
And Getter just made a good point there about when you release that first game and it's crappy and we have a bunch of low quality games. Well, that's the other point. Your first game should not be on Steam. Period.
Right.
Like we mentioned this before with talking about Cliff Harris and his thoughts on the whole Steam greenlight. I agree with him that your first game should not be on the most recognizable sales platform in the world. It just shouldn't. It should not be sitting there next to a game from someone who's been in the industry for 5 to 10 years.
Or longer. And then AAA titles besides.
Yeah. And it's just something that, again, I think a lot of people don't really understand what it means to work in the game industry. And when we say work, we mean actually be sustainable. Because even studios have trouble making it if one of their games doesn't do well. Like, I'm really happy that Shadowhand's doing well for Jake, but there was a time where he said that if it didn't sell a certain number of copies, he would have to go into panic mode.
Yeah, or bankruptcy.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the smartest things I ever heard someone, like, the thing that kept with me, and I'm sure I've mentioned it here before, is that one game does not a game company make. So if you go into this with your one great idea and you put all your efforts into it, and let's say it is somewhat successful, just a moderate success, that's what Reassembly was. If you don't have some concept of what you want to do next, you're kind of lost. Like, you have this money, you made a decent amount, enough to make another game, but if you don't have that, if you don't have that game ready to go or ready to start working on, you just are spinning your wheels and spending that money on other things, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but you kind of want to make that second one, because like you say, it may not be as good of a hit. It may just be one of those that kind of falters out, and you want to have a little bit of stuff to fall back on should you want to make another game.
Hmm.
right away.
Yeah, I've said that more times I encountered this point. But I know a lot of people talk about the dangers of imposter syndrome, where you feel you're not good enough. But I think there's got to be something else, like Big Bang syndrome, or something else about how, or one hit wonder syndrome when it
Yeah.
comes to making video games. And I think Getter encapsulated that perfectly. A chef's got to fix more than one dinner.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, again, one of the big things we see. And like I said, I probably pissed off a few indie developers when I said a few years ago, but just because you made one game doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things. It could be
Right.
a best selling game of the year game, but guess what? That one game is not going to sustain your livelihood for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah. And just like indie games are a cycle. Like they are popular or not popular. So if you have an indie game, you might have missed your window, and you can't wait for the next one.
Hmm. But again, a lot of people will just look at the big hits. And I know this is probably a topic too big to talk about now. But again, the game industry is a hit driven industry, especially in the AAA market. I mean, when the Grand Theft Auto took off, I mean, we mentioned this a few minutes in this cast, but when Grand Theft Auto took off, everyone did the open world sandbox games. When
Yeah.
World of Warcraft came out, guess what? We had the MMO bust and then boom. Now we're having the Battle Royale boom. But the problem is, you can't expect to get the success when you're just copying the big names. And as you
Yeah.
just said, Rob, the market is based on these cycles or these trends. And it's very hard to get ahead of that. And it's even harder to make success if you're just trying to copy someone.
Yeah. The
Mm-hmm.
copying part is gross. It really is. And it when you're copying at that level, like I see people copying like the smaller hits, and that seems more reasonable in terms of making money. It's no less dirty, but it like when you start copying open world and MMO, you must have a ton of money to waste because
Oh, yes.
those are big games, and the expectations are just so grand. How do you expect to make money off of that? Um, that's just a copycat. It seems ridiculous to do that. But whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one to talk to the marketing departments of big companies.
Yep, and that's how the MMO market bust in the last decade. Everyone wanted to be the next World of Warcraft, but how do you compete with World of Warcraft? It's the same thing with Paragon. How do you release a new MOBA today and compete with League of Legends and Dota?
Oh, right. No, exactly. And I want to Getter's point. The last point is very good. That is definitely happening right now. And I, as a publisher, and I have to put publisher in quotes because we were not typical. We did not give money to people. We didn't have money to give to people. But there are so many companies out there who do, and they're not giving it to you for fun, for free. That like you don't get money and then not have to pay it back. They will take your money from any sales they get, and they're not going to let you. They're not going to say, you know what, if you don't have X sales, then we'll take the loss. Paying you money to make your game. They're not, and that's something that a lot of people don't see. And they also see the dollar signs of what their game could make, when in reality they're just going into debt, and that's a really dangerous thing for an indie game because if you're a young indie game maker, you don't have money, or you're using someone else's money. And if you're an older indie gamer, you might actually already have some money, but if you're taking this loan, like you obviously don't. And so that's why Kickstarter, but Kickstarter is not a guarantee. So if you have a publisher that says, yeah, we'll give you money to make your game and sell it, yeah, be wary, probably run away, I would say.
Yeah, and read the fine print, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned this a few minutes ago regarding, again, making a livable wage, and that's what Jay Burgett was talking about in his post, that, yes, your game may have sold 100,000, 200,000 copies, that's great, but how much of that do you actually take home as profit, not as income, or not as just the revenue, but as actual profit, what you're actually ahead on?
Right. Like for example, I'll use Arthur from Reassembly, who did. He sold 100,000 copies in about a year, and that was a very good. And I'm like, this is all approximate I
Mm-hmm.
don't know for sure, and you can kind of guess based on the numbers that Steam gives and the other entities out there
Mm-hmm.
give. And that, you do the addition, and that's not a bad take. Now he's a very excellent programmer, and he worked on creating game drivers, so that's not a bad living. And then he took 4 years, so in the end, I think he got a little more
Mm-hmm.
than he expected, or certainly he came out ahead, which is rare for that long of a game. But then, yeah, you have to take into account Steam's take, and at
Mm-hmm.
that point, our take, and that adds up. And certainly, he still came out ahead, I think, based on maths. But you have to consider Steam takes a good chunk out. I don't know how. I won't say just because I don't know how widely spread it is, but wink, wink. I know that it's out there. Um, they take a good chunk. Apple takes a mobile games, and that I don't know for certain, but pretty sure it's in the 20 or higher percentage range. So even in mobile, you're not expect you can't guarantee anything. They can get chunk out of everything you make. So expect that. And same with
Mm-hmm.
Kickstarter. Like you can't go into Kickstarter saying, "Well, I just made $100,000 on Kickstarter." You don't. Kickstarter takes their take. The credit card company takes their take. Then you have the items you promise to people. That takes money out as well. So you wind up having like 60% of what you expected. So you got to calculate all this stuff ahead of time and really be realistic about your expectations and your needs. Because if you're
Mm-hmm.
not, you're going to wind up being completely screwed.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't think about that stuff. They don't plan beyond just, I want to make this great game, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah, it's true, and I'm not immune to that. Like I
Mm-hmm.
started a business years ago that I'm still trying to catch up on, stupidly. Like this is the kind of boneheaded rookie mistake. It's like, oh, I'm going to start an LLC. Well, guess what? There's a lot of crap that goes with that. It's not just starting an LLC. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I earned it. I learned it the hard way because stupid. But that's an important lesson that you should learn at the very least. If you're not going to learn it the hard way, you better be smart enough to take everyone else's advice.
Mm-hmm. And I want to get back to a point that Getter said a few minutes ago. Let me scroll up here about folks' hunger for the stipend, arts, grants, and pension. That this, I think, is another big point about why, like, we hear this all the time about developers not, or first time indies and students not caring about the money, they care more about the arts. And that is, it's always that very interesting push and pull. Like you mentioned this earlier, Rob, that there are people out there who they despise the term publisher. They think, that's just the business coming in. But you have to think about this stuff from both angles if you want to succeed. When I spoke to Z from Serenity Forge about it, like he sees both being the business and the art side as being one and the same. But too many people will view it as, if I think about trying to make money, it's going to ruin my art. I'm going to pervert my vision. But you can't have that mindset and try and succeed at the same time.
Yeah, I think there's one type of person in the world that can have that mindset, and that's a student.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes towards the earlier point. Like that is a person who can just make a game and put it out there, and they don't care about making money, and that's fantastic. And it goes towards their experience. And at some
Mm-hmm.
point, you kind of hope that they're like, okay, well, maybe I need to make money if I want to do this for a living. Um, and yeah, I agree with the last one. Publishers aren't bad, but they're not created equal.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, I don't know what our value was on the whole, but our finance stuff was not perfect. So yeah, we're definitely not equal.
Mm-hmm.
We don't exist anymore. But like, it really is. It's a pain, and I know the dreams were to be taken in by like Nintendo or Sony or
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft or Batholith or whoever at the time had their very popular indie program. Or Intel, and that's the dream to be taken in by one of those guys. But even that's not a. They're just a feather in their. You're just a feather in their
Mm-hmm.
cap. You're not like their baby.
Yeah. And as a very interesting tangent regarding that trouble of understanding what to do with their future, we can also see that with a lot of people who get famous very early. When their first game or their first YouTube video or anything goes viral like that, and now they're in that public eye, this goes back to what we were saying earlier. What do you do next? How do you follow up if your first thing was your best thing? And it becomes very hard to be sustainable like that.
It is. And that's something, well, I wouldn't say luckily. It's something I've never had to deal with, so I can't speak to that. It would be nice if I was like a multi-millionaire. I'm like, you know what? That was it for me. I just have to admit that now. I can, well, yeah, that's a problem that's a nice problem to have, but at the same time, it probably is very harrowing. You don't hear a lot of you don't hear a lot of people who are like, you know what, I feel great about not having a second hit. Now, loose tube, that's a good approach. It really is. But at the same time, it's handy to learn to figure out how to monetize that. And I don't mean like put in loot boxes or advertisements. It's just about, talking to people who might like your game and letting them help you make it better and all that kind of thing. It doesn't have to mean super marketing.
Yep, and I think that's one of the more interesting things that, and we've said this before, and what's our time? 1 second. Yeah, we're about an hour and 15, so we'll wrap things up, I think, in the next few minutes. But there are so many little things you can do as a developer that can ultimately help your game, be it playtesting, as you just said, Rob, doing like proper reaching out to people, having a website. Again, it still makes me have a little bit of pain in my head when I check an indie developer who just released a game and they don't have a website to go with the game or their company. I mean, these are little things, but they add up. We mentioned this earlier with Starward Rogue, like basic UI design improvements and quality of life. These aren't these super secret, Illuminati tactics that lead to rich and famous. They're just things that ultimately make your game stand out better.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Getter, I feel like there is more trauma and less Disney in the video games industry, because the vast majority of games are murder things, murder things and get points.
Murder and sex, those I think are the two.
Murder and sex, yeah. I kind of wish for those other things. That's why indie games are attractive to me. They're a little more creative sometimes.
When I talked with Ramin on our last cast, we mentioned that the two biggest sellers in microtransaction are boobs and hats. So we just combined the two there, and there we go. Again,
boob hats.
And you get to wear in a cardboard fortress.
Yeah,
we're done. We've solved the formula for rich and famous right there.
Yeah.
But, like I said, we are definitely over our time. I'm not sure we'll be able to do a Grim Dawn stream tonight, but I do have some games I want to try to play tonight. We'll see what happens. But let's wrap things up for this week. So, do you have any final thoughts for you, Rob?
No, I mean, we went over some of my favorite topics today, and I got to complain about being a publisher and that kind of thing. So, that really hits it all for me. Just, enjoy making your games and do what you can to help allow those games to make you at least a moderate success.
That's probably going to be the next indie game on Steam right there, El Gordo. Sex and murder.
I think you nailed it.
Yep.
You nailed it.
Exactly. But we're going to wrap things up for this week, so thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching this recording and would like an ad-free version of this up early, be sure to support us on patreon.com/GWBlazer to get VIP access. We'll be back next Sunday, probably around 3-ish, or 3 EST, and we'll still try and figure out our time for that Grim Dawn play. Maybe we will try it on a Saturday. Maybe like a Saturday afternoon would be better for us, since we're doing this on Sunday afternoons.
Yeah.
But otherwise, be sure to check Rob out. You're still on twitch.tv/IndieVoyageRob.
I am. I just literally started getting back to it yesterday, so maybe I'll be able to do more regular stuff.
Alright. And I'll be back usually around 10 Eastern for my streaming here. But otherwise, be sure to come back for my regular videos, vlogs, and more here on Game Wisdom, or on the Game Wisdom YouTube channel, and on game-wisdom.com. So until our next chat, have a great rest of the Sunday. It is still looking miserable out, so I guess I'm going to be indoors. So until then, have a great day.